Welcome, everyone, to the first live episode of The Future Belongs to Creators with your new hosts. I'm Charlie. I'm joined by my co-host, Haley and Miguel. And this is a show about the creator economy, I guess. I don't know. We need to still figure out exactly how we describe what this show is going forward, right?
In time, it'll come.
It'll come. Yeah, one day we'll just like open our mouths and say it in the introduction and it'll feel right.
No, yeah, the journey is half of it at least.
Yeah, at least half of it. I don't know. Today on the show, we thought for our first episode with, first official episode with us as hosts, because the last one was kind of like just an introduction. We just talked about ourselves a bunch, basically. In this episode, we want to talk about entertainment versus education when it comes to content. And let me just set the scene for this a little bit, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot throughout 2020, especially. So back when I first started making content myself, I focused pretty hard on making sure my content was valuable. And I felt a lot of pressure to do that. I think it was because of a lot of the people I followed online. Like that's what they would talk about, is like, make sure your content's valuable. And it was sort of like, pressed into me. And I then took that view and applied it to the content that I consumed. And it was like, okay, well, I should only be making and like consuming stuff if it's educational and if it's valuable. But for 2020, like, I don't know about you two, but, my brain just wanted a break from a lot of things in 2020. And I found so much joy in content that like isn't educational at all. I cannot tell you how many hours of like game streams I watched in 2020. Like, I don't even want to know. It would be embarrassing. But it sort of shifted my mindset on this. And I just started to fully understand and like fully grasp the value of entertainment content in seeing like what it was doing for me and my mental health, So yeah, I'm keen for your thoughts on this and where you're coming at this from. And that's what we want to chat about today. And we want to hear from people in the live chat on YouTube as well, like what your thoughts are on this and how you see content. So feel free to chime in at any time. We won't hear you, but we will see your comments.
Before we jump in though, I mean, I don't know, has anyone noticed Barrett Brooks, like former Future Belongs to Creators podcast host, hanging out there in the chat?
How does he feel about being described as a former host as well, I wonder?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I love it. I love this topic so much for so many reasons, but something that you said that made me think about this a little bit more deeply is that you didn't realize it until 2020, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because the entire world was going through this at the same time, right? Whereas I think you'd be remiss, or we would be remiss to forget that everybody has ebbs and flows about what's going on in their personal lives, and they all need entertainment in various different periods or times in their creative journey that aren't educational. You know, me, for example, might not be 2020, but after I have a kid, I've had 3 beautiful children that I love so much, but they are mentally draining and I don't want to think about anything. I just want to watch Bridgerton, you know? So like sometimes like entertainment it's just needed. It's so necessary, you know, and that's not just because of 2020. That's a every day, every year, every month for someone thing.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things that I have learned, probably in general, but also about myself, is that instead of like I used to love like super gritty TV shows and like a lot of crazy things happening that are like blowing my mind, and then like 2020 happened and I'm just like watching reruns of TV shows that I've seen a long time ago because like it's comfortable, it's nice, I know how it ends. Like every episode ends with like they tie a little bow at the end and all the story arcs get resolved and everybody's fine at the end, and then that's it. And it's just like a little bite-sized little thing of happiness, and then that's it. It doesn't have to teach me a lesson. It doesn't have to leave me at the end of my seat. I don't have to binge the entire season in order to like feel like some sense of completion. It's just, 20-year-old episode of Star Trek. We saved the alien race and then we just, we're good. So, yep, I'm a nerd. And
now we know.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. Was it just me, or was anyone else binge watching though The Office, even though I've seen it 7,500 times before December 31st because of Netflix's terrible decision to remove it? I think it was NBC, but whatever. I still blame Netflix for it. Terrible decision to remove it from their service.
Definitely.
It's the worst decision ever.
Well, I was hunting for episodes of Parks and Rec. And then I'm like, wait, that was already gone before the new year. Like Parks and Rec left early and I was so sad.
And you missed it. Well, what's even sadder is that I don't think The Office has ever been on Spain Netflix. So I can't rewatch it on Netflix.
Are you a fan of the UK Office, or
much prefer the US one? Much prefer. Right. Yeah, big fan of Michael Scott.
You answered correctly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Something I think is really interesting about both of your responses just then is that the entertainment content you were talking about is more like, how do I say this? Like traditional media entertainment, I guess, like TV shows and Star Trek, or was? Sorry, Miguel, I know I've got to get that right in whatever you're talking about.
Actually, I do not discriminate. All sci-fi is cool. Put star in front of it. I'll watch it.
Great. But like, where do you stand on consuming content from creators that is purely for entertainment? Is that something you do? Like what fills your feeds, like your YouTube subscription box, your Instagram feed? Is it more education side? Is it more the entertainment side?
Gosh, I'll take a stab at that first. For me, it's music. I listen and watch more music. This is something that's, for me, it's constant. So this is not exclusive, obviously, to 2020. But I think one of the things that I've thought about a lot, especially as I've been working on creator sessions, right, is I don't necessarily think that creators are creating music for other people as entertainment. Musicians are creating it for other people as entertainment. They're doing it for themselves, right, to like fill this this hole or fill this. Sam Tinez is a creator who's doing a creator session, and that's one of the things that he was saying. It hasn't been released yet, but he was saying that a lot of creators are like, he's like, we're all trying to like fill this void that we have, and that's one of the reasons why they create. But ultimately, music is served up as entertainment, right? It's never designed necessarily to serve this purpose of like education for someone, or even inspiration for someone, but that's always a result of it, right? Music always inspires people to do things, or serves this purpose of, I don't know. I mean, it applies to so many different people, so many different ways. But for me, it's usually music is the content that I see more. I'm not into necessarily, I don't watch, what is it? Among Us? Among Us is that a really popular game that everyone...
It is a really popular game that I've played way too many hours of.
Yeah. And I have not gotten into that. I haven't gotten into that yet.
Fair enough. What about you, Miguel?
Yeah, I mean, to touch a little bit on that music thing, some of my favorite musicians are people that I would describe as, even if they didn't have an audience, they'd still be doing what they're doing. Like, they can't not create. Like, that's their outlet. That's their meditation. That's their therapy. Like, there's no way they can't not write music. And those are usually like the people that create to me, what I consider to be the best stuff that I connect with. So that's kind of where I agree with Haley there, but also, like, to give you, so I have a little story. So, story time. So there's like this. So my wife and I, she will oftentimes like to unwind after, she's a nurse. So, in this day and age, that's a pretty tough job. So she likes to unwind by watching, Snapchat TV or like Instagram TV and like random videos of like people doing things like, but like simple things, like maybe sometimes it's like a new method of putting on makeup, or like, it's just like this, then just show, it's like, I guess it's educational because it shows you how to do something, but you also kind of like get this sense of completion, because like you get this like good feeling of like watching somebody, like a before and after, like somebody who like, okay, they look like me, they've had a hard day at work, and then they spend 20 minutes through like a super sped up video of them putting on makeup, and now they look like something amazing. And I always kind of like give her a hard time. It's just like, oh, why do you like watching people draw on their face and like do makeup? Like, obviously I don't connect with that, but she does. But then she caught me doing something that I realized was the exact same thing, just in a different medium, which is Instagram. The algorithm has totally figured me out, and it notices that I look at woodworking stuff. And now I just watch sped up videos of people making a table in 20 seconds. And I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. So I'm basically the same thing. So yeah, it's educational. I didn't learn how to make that table, really. I mean, you think maybe you did because you saw the steps and super fast forward, but what took them probably an hour, 2 hours, half a day, and they sped it up and showed it in 20 seconds. Like, I don't know, it inspires me to like, oh, maybe I could build something like that. I don't know the step by step, but like, it like spurs me to action, and it's really something that kind of gets me excited about creating myself. So maybe not necessarily educational, but also definitely has an entertainment value. So it's a cool mix.
I think what I'm hearing here, though, is that we all consider entertainment to be different things. So like, for example, like Charlie, you dig into Among Us, and I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to judge Among Us, but I don't know if there is an educational component to that at all.
There is
right? There is zero. You're just killing people and trying to figure out who killed people, or not people. They're like little minions or something
little
like
space
that.
People, to be exact.
Space people. Where I am like Miguel, I find at like education or certain types of content to be both educational and entertaining. Like I don't find myself watching a lot of like video games or things like that don't serve some sort of value, I guess. I personally don't find that entertaining.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And I just want to redeem myself a little here and say that there is other things that I watch for entertainment too. Like one good example that I think lines up with what you two both are talking about is I watch a lot of like home decor, home renovation, that sort of channel. And like, sure, I'm sort of learning for the future when like one day I get to own my own home and can do it up and like, you know, go nuts with it. But that's not why I'm watching it. Like I'm not watching it because I'm like, I want to learn how to make a room look nice. I'm watching it usually because I like the creator themselves. It's like someone that I like. Maybe I watched one educational video of theirs and I got brought into who they are as a creator, you know? And then it just becomes like it's like candy for my brain, you know? Like it's what my brain is craving. And it's like, I just want to watch this and chill out. Maybe wine is a better like analogy there. Wine for my brain. Yeah.
Yeah. But what does sus mean? You know,
Isn't Among Us thing, Haley? You wouldn't understand.
You don't get
did I just get called out? Like what?
a little bit, but it's okay. I would love to hear from everyone in the chat when they're not calling Haley sus. What do you consume? Entertainment, education? What do you reach for? You know, when you're like, oh, I've got 10 minutes, I want to watch something. Are you like, this is the thing I want to learn and I want to watch that now? Or I don't know. For me, I just open up my feed and I pick the most interesting looking video on my YouTube subscription feed. And usually it's home decor or Among Us or some sort of gameplay. That's what it ends up being. I don't know. Yeah, I would love to hear from people. I think that I just want to admit something here as well, like while we're admitting things. Because you talked about judging, Haley. And you did a little bit as well, Miguel, like talking about, you know, inadvertently judging your wife for the makeup content, which I also used to be really into, so I can relate to her there. I used to find myself judging other creators as well when they would choose this as the type of content they would make, you know, where, I don't know, this is going to make me sound really bad, but I sort of saw myself as like better than them because I was making stuff that was educational and valuable. And I was like, they're just making stuff that's like, you know, empty calories of content. Here I am with the analogies again. And I don't know, I guess that's why I wanted to talk about this is because I have had such this huge shift in 2020 of how I view that. And I'm like, I don't know how I'd be feeling right now if Jacksepticeye hadn't kept streaming all these games that I spent hours and hours watching this year that, you know, kept me sane. And so maybe this is just my apology to creators that I silently judged over the past few years. But that's just how I was feeling about it.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like everybody kind of has like their tastes and they're like whatever it is that you really like, I feel most people tend to have a justification for, and sometimes we tend to compare it to others, and you know, you've arrived at what you believe to be good, and you have a definition of that makes sense to you, but other people might not. Like, for example, there might be a pop song that I absolutely cannot stand, but clearly people like it because it's selling millions of records. Everybody knows all the words. It's everywhere you go. It's always on the radio, sometimes at the same time on 2 different radio stations. And it's not because people hate it. So, you know, we tell ourselves that, oh, well, most people are just dumb and they don't know what good music is. But that's a really shallow way of looking at it. And then it's just tastes are different and they're nuanced. And what people get out of things that have been created. So, you know, if I'm listening to a Radiohead album from the 90s, what I'm looking for is not the same thing that somebody that is listening to maybe the latest Taylor Swift album. You know, we're not necessarily searching for the same thing out of music in that moment. Sometimes you just want something that you want to run to and makes you go. And unfortunately, 1994 Radiohead is not the best thing to, you know, work out to. It's pretty sad sometimes. So it just depends, like what it is that you're trying to get out of the content and how you're connecting with it is such a big part of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think maybe part of my aversion to like pure entertainment, like stuff that, you know, could never be construed as valuable, like the Among Us games that we keep coming back to. I felt like I had a responsibility for my audience's time, and that's why I was focusing so heavily on the educational side of things and like making sure that everything I was doing was going to be valuable or whatever. And I feel like I'm now realizing, especially after hearing you just say that, Miguel, that I was perhaps not giving my audience enough credit to like make their own freaking decisions about how they spend their time. And like this year, I started making content that is purely entertainment value for the first time ever. I started streaming some games of my own, sometimes Among Us, sometimes other things, on Twitch. And, you don't learn a single thing from watching me play these games apart from how bad at games I am. And maybe if it was a year ago, I wouldn't have wanted to start that because I would have felt like, if I spend my time making this, it's not going to be helping anybody. But now I feel like I know that it actually is, because you're giving someone, whether it's the company, the like chance to switch their brain off, the laughs, whatever it is, like that's valuable too.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember that one of the valuable, like really valuable benefits of turning your brain off is that it often sparks more creativity.
Great point.
Yeah. And so for me, that comes in various different ways. And for you, it might be thinking about killing an alien man, or a spaceman. But my point is that if you're constantly consuming educational content, you can't consume it and actually absorb it and then therefore apply it to your creative outlets if you don't give your brain a chance to just sit. It's one of the reasons why meditation is so freaking popular, is because it gives your brain the opportunity to just rest. And that is oftentimes where creativity spikes. I really don't have any idea what Among Us is. I'm sorry, guys. My 8-year-old could probably explain it. Slightly.
Fine. It's not important. I do like this comment that Emily just wrote, though, that we need to normalize value in the human being, not just what they do. And I think that is a big part of it, that, and it sort of feels weird for me to, I don't know, I feel a lot of imposter syndrome about this as a creator, perhaps, producing entertainment content. Because I'm like, when I'm producing my design videos, right? I'm like, oh, people are here because I'm teaching them something. And like, that's good. Like, that's what they like about me. If someone's watching me play a game, they're there for really no other reason other than they're finding me entertaining. And for some reason, I find that harder to accept, sort of like it's a compliment in a way. And I find it really hard to accept that compliment. But Emily's right. Like, there's value in us as humans, not just the things we do and the skills that we have.
Good point, Emily.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
What do you think about the monetization side of entertainment, though? Because I feel like this is where things can get difficult for creators. And there's like, obviously many different solutions for monetizing and for earning a living online as a creator. But a lot of the great ways are through teaching, right? Like, it's what we encourage a lot at ConvertKit, is to teach what you know. We help people make courses and like, I don't know, sell workshops and mentor sessions, coaching sessions, things like that. In entertainment, I sometimes worry that people end up having to teach because it's the way to make money, and that people end up going down that path. And instead of just doing their craft and being really great at their craft, they have to start teaching it if they want to earn a living. Seems to be the path a lot of people take. Just curious for your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that people's experience and their perspective and their personality all have value. And a lot of the times I feel as creators, and maybe this is how you feel when you're doing something purely entertainment as opposed to educational, is that you probably feel like your educational content is more valuable than your purely entertainment.
I do.
Things,
I absolutely
right?
do. You're right. Yeah. Got to call myself out.
Yeah. Well, I'll call you out on it here as well.
Thanks,
so yeah. No but the point I'm trying to make is I feel like we are, it's, as I sometimes pretend to be one myself, although
you are one.
Oh, that's nice of you to say. But it's, I feel it's hard for us to find, decide that there's value in what we're doing. Sometimes people have a hard time when I connect with customers and they're working on a, say, a course that they're selling. They have a hard time trying to decide, trying to talk themselves into actually selling something that they've created.
Mm.
They feel it, the moment you put a price tag on something, you're putting a wall between a potential follower of what you're creating, and yourself. And that paywall can be a turnoff to some people. And as creators, we hate the idea of turning people off and turning them away. More than anything, we just want to get what we know out there and engage with people. But it is a perfectly reasonable thing to expect to make a living from your experience and what you know, and there's value in that. And sometimes we just need someone to tell us that, because what you know and what you have to offer is valuable, and you'd be surprised how many people would be willing to pay for what you know, if you just put yourself out there.
Agreed. I have a question though, that I think would be helpful for me and maybe people that are listening as well. Charlie, you said that early on in the episode, you said that this was the first year that you started creating just entertainment content, right? And it had nothing to do with education. And then you relayed the question back to monetization. What would be an example for those that are listening that are trying to figure out, like, what is their type? Like, how are you monetizing entertainment for you versus your educational content? Because quite frankly, that's something that I'm, confuses me even.
Yeah.
How do you, I'd love to hear that from you, to break it down a little bit more on like actual monetization methods for entertainment content that might be, let's say, Among Us related or streaming it on Twitch versus, again, lack of knowledge there, versus your design, right? Your YouTube channel where you're purely talking about design, and monetization strategies might be sponsored content, right? Or, a sponsored video, whatever. So I'd love to hear that from you.
Yeah. So a lot of it, I think, a lot of the issues I see with monetizing entertainment content, I feel like I've realized this throughout our talk. This has been sort of like creative therapy for me. A lot of it is in my own hangups and self-doubt in charging for things. But the main way that I would say a lot of people make money through video entertainment content anyway is through channel subscriptions. That's the thing on Twitch. You can pay to subscribe to someone, and you can get benefits, you don't see ads, and there's a subscriber only chat and stuff like that. But it's also just a way to be hey, I like what you're doing and I want to support you. It's kind of really it's a Patreon type of model where there's someone doing something you like, you want them to keep doing that, and you either tip them or support them on a regular basis to keep doing so. And I guess I feel uncomfortable with the idea of that, or sort of afraid of the idea of that, because like Miguel called out, I don't value that entertainment content as much as I do my educational stuff. So that's my own issue with it, because also on the other side, I'm out here monetarily supporting the creators who have been entertaining me this year, because I, have gotten so much value from it. So it's all very ironic, basically. Yeah. But I think that's the main way. And you can do sponsored content that is entertainment as well. A lot of people will do sponsored videos that are, entertainment-based videos. Brands are still interested in that. But I think it's more the challenge as a creator, if you're going the entertainment route rather than education, is people are there for you, and you are entertaining them, you and your personality, your way of doing things. Whereas education, the content can sort of prop you up a bit more, I guess, and the topic. So there's maybe a little bit more pressure on the personality side in that way. And honestly, it's probably harder. And so I have great respect for all the entertainment content creators now. I've come full circle.
Yeah. Can you think, oh, sorry, Miguel. Can you, that's not going to be the first time this happens. It's going to happen a fair amount. Yeah. Can you think of a content creator that does that really well, though? Like a Casey Neistat, for example, who I feel when I think of Casey Neistat, I think of more entertainment style content.
Definitely.
I don't. Yeah. So like, but he does, there is absolutely educational components to things that he does as well that might be even more exclusively educational in nature. Like the end goal is more to educate or inspire. But who's a creator that does that really well, who charges or is paid for both entertainment and educational content?
Ooh, entertainment and education. I didn't have an answer prepared for that one. I think a lot of the big YouTube channels, like the big ones that start out teaching things, when they get an audience, and maybe like, I guess when they get some content under their feet themselves as a creator, people come for their personality. And so their videos can sort of like be less teaching heavy and bring in more of the entertainment side every now and then. One that comes to mind for me is this channel called The Sorry Girls. They're two Canadian women who have like a home decor, styling, renovation, DIY sort of thing going on. And there's a lot of teaching, like they do tutorials for making things, but they also do just like fun videos and fun challenges that I enjoy watching. So I feel like they do it well. Yeah. And they do a lot of sponsored content as a big way for them to make money, I think. Yeah. Can anyone
Miguel,
hear that horn outside?
Yeah, I did. I did hear that.
That wasn't me. No, but this conversation got me thinking, how about like what the sort of the funnel is when it comes to different types of entertainment. So when you're thinking of something educational, if I'm paying for something, I'm probably thinking of it in the way of like a return. What's my ROI? What's my return on my investment? So if I pay you money so that you can teach me this thing, which then I can turn it into something that can make me money, then I feel better about paying you money for it because eventually it'll pay for itself. Whereas like something like entertainment is something, okay, I'm going to give you money and I'm going to enjoy myself watching you and it'll make me happy, but it won't make me money. It'll just make me happy. So I feel like it's a lot harder to talk ourselves into spending money because happiness or, a fleeting moment, like of watching somebody play a video game on Twitch is not something that really has an ROI per se, So it's harder for you to sort of justify spending your money on that. So we have to sort of like build these other ways around trying to justify those things like, oh, well, they're a creator and I want to support them. Like we have to sort of like make these qualifying statements why we're going to part with money to be entertained. And the truth is we do it all the time. You pay for Netflix, or maybe you're just stealing your friend's login, but someone's paying for it. And someone thinks it's worthy of it. You're paying for Hulu, you're paying for Disney Plus, whatever it is you're paying for. There is obviously some intrinsic value in your entertainment. It's just, I don't want to. I want to break away from this feeling of like having to explain yourself for paying for something that's just purely for entertainment.
Yeah, maybe it's sort of like it's shifted in a way where with educational content that you personally pay for, like let's put sponsored videos and that sort of stuff aside as a way of getting money. But when you're paying directly for educational content, you pay and then you receive the value. But if you pay directly for entertainment content, creator to creator in a way, you receive the value and then you sort of pay to say thank you in a way, like with a subscription or a patron or a tip or whatever it is, or buying a merch. Like you're doing that because you've received value from that person and you want to give back. And then obviously like maybe that doesn't hold up because it's the other way. Like you got to pay before you can see the Netflix stuff. But in a way, they've proven to you that the value is going to be there, and so you already know that, and that's why you pay for it.
Well, that's what the free trial's for. But
yeah, exactly. It's just a theory. Maybe it doesn't hold up. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I've learned a lot about or nothing at all about what Among Us actually is this episode.
Great. So, I'm glad we got that. That was the point.
That was the whole point. It was all we veiled it in a talk about creators and things like that, but really, it's just to get you to play this silly game.
Yeah, exactly. One day we'll get Haley playing it. This was a good chat, though. Thanks for indulging me, you two, in talking through my issues and some stuff that I learned recently. Before we end, I do want to shout out that if you're a creator right now working to grow your audience, ConvertKit is running a challenge. And this is a challenge you could take part in whether you make educational or entertainment content. So you should head to convertkit.com/challenge and sign up. You can win 10 freaking grand as the grand prize for this. So like it's worth taking part. You got to make a landing page, get subscribers, and that's what gets you entered. So you might as well try, because that's another way you can make money as a creator. There we go. I turned it back around. This was fun though.
Is there anything stopping me from signing up for this thing?
Yes, Miguel, because you are a ConvertKit employee. You're not allowed.
Okay.
Okay, I should clarify. Anyone listening who's not a ConvertKit employee should apply for this challenge.
Well, damn it.
Yeah. Cool.
Managed to get through the whole podcast without saying a curse word. Is damn a word? I don't know, whatever.
I don't think it's a curse word. I think you're fine there.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Do I need to rectify that? Because I can absolutely do that real quick.
Let's end the podcast right now.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you back here the same time next week. Bye.